Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to the Movies TV Mad Daily. Today we're asking, how do we save Doctor Who? There is no question about it. Russell T Davies, his friends, Phil Collinson, Julie Gardner, Jane Tranter brought the show back wonderfully well in 2005. I don't think because some of us don't like RTD2 or his stances or what he's saying and his attacks on the fans that we can suddenly say that he did a bad job. What he did was rare and amazing. It was rare and amazing because revivals don't normally work and certainly don't work on the level of the Doctor Who revival. The job was sensational. You know, let's not forget Murray Gold's music. We'll get to Murray, I think, a little bit later on if I remember, because I think one of the great things about Murray's music was always they were recognisable anthems. I think lately and throughout the years, and I think everyone's kind of spoken about this, we haven't seen the recognisable anthems from Murray, and that's something he certainly needs to get back to. But in terms of Doctor Who, in terms of saving it, Russell T Davies, his friends, and all the people involved, including Disney, have to go. I've been talking about these people who've had a stranglehold on New Who for far too long. I've already recognised that they did a great job bringing it back, but that's done. We need new direction, new creativity. I have always dreamt about running Doctor Who and playing the Doctor. I know what you're saying. It's never going to happen, Mick. Keep dreaming. That's right. But it doesn't stop me dreaming the dream, right? And there's nothing wrong. And I'll dream that dream until I bloody well die, if it's all right with you. But anyway, I have lots of different ideas how we can save Doctor Who. Look, you need people. You need someone who genuinely wants to make Doctor Who entertaining, fun, funny, escapism, with escapism, but a little bit of education, because Doctor Who was created to be educational. But I don't think in 2024, 2025, or whenever we would be doing this, you can focus too much on education. People would be bored. This isn't 1963, this is not 1983, this is the late to mid 2020s. So we live in a different era. And people don't have the concentration they once did. I'll explain to you why they don't have the concentration. Because they have options. They have different choices. They have streaming. They have TV. They have film. They have their own DVD and digital collections as well. So if what you're doing isn't interesting to someone, they can go, nah, I'm not going to watch this. And this is what's happened with Doctor Who. It doesn't matter if you're the Marvel Cinematic Universe, DC, Doctor Who, just because you were once popular, it doesn't mean you're going to keep people watching. You have to keep on outdoing yourself. You have to keep on being as great as you once did. The MCU proves that Feige and his team thought Phase 4 could be blander and cheaper and people would still come and watch. They underestimated the public. And I think Russell T Davies had an idea, not much of one. I don't think RTD2 has a vision to it, but his idea was bring Tennant back, create some fanfare, let them think we're going back to the good old days, but we're not really. We're going to gaslight them even more than we did under the Chibnall era. And there's no question about it. The Chibnall era is better than RTD2. Because the Chibnall-Whittaker era at least had a vision. I've said this before on this channel. You may not like that vision, but there was a plan behind it. He always planned to do the Timeless Children. Whether you like that or not, it was his plan. He had a vision. RTD doesn't have any vision whatsoever. One of many reasons it hasn't worked. But they all have to go. Chibnall, and out of all of them, Stephen Moffat is my favourite guy. If I was going to keep any of them, it would be Stephen Moffat. I think Boom was the best episode of RTD2 thus far. And I think his Christmas episode will be pretty good as well. I've always liked Moffat's Christmas episodes. They're not appreciated by everyone, but at least he tries to be Christmassy. Who knows, they may try and gaslight us and hate on Christmas this year. Who the damn well knows anymore. But I think one of the things you could do to Doctor Who, and again it will be controversial around the fan base, is take Doctor Who away from the small screen and take it to the big screen and make a huge blockbuster Doctor Who movie every 2 to 3 years. As I say, it's a controversial idea, but the problem is the BBC can't afford to make Doctor Who movies. You still need a partner like Disney. I don't like Disney. I don't want Disney involved in Doctor Who. Any other studio, any other injection of money, but not Disney. People who care about Doctor Who. You need Doctor Who fans making and funding Doctor Who. It's different than any other show or any other IP. But look, you've got people like Hugh Grant, Hugh Laurie, who could play the Doctor in different movies. You could have a regeneration at the end of each movie. Kate Winslet, as I say, Jude Law. You know, there's so many great British actors out there who could play the Doctor on the big screen. Because here's the thing, it's not really working on the small screen anymore. Now you could fix it to be entertaining, for it to work on the small screen. I'm not saying it's not viable to have it on the small screen. I just think an injection of hype, putting it on the big screen, it's still the same show. It still continues from everything else, but it's on the big screen instead of the small screen. And you get the opportunity, if you've got the injection of finance, as I say, to have big film stars playing the Doctor, whether they're male or female. I've already name dropped Kate Winslet, so I'm fine with the female Doctor thing. That's obvious because the Doctor can regenerate, as I keep on saying, into any humanoid. So that can be a black man, black woman, white guy, whatever. But you've got to get the best person for the job, right? The person who has a vision to play the Doctor. It's very different, unique and challenging to play the Doctor. And I mean, I've been thinking about, as I said, it's my dream to play the Doctor. So I've been thinking about what it takes to play the Doctor for a very long time. 50% of it is your own personality. 50% of it is your producer showrunner's vision, right? And you should be working together. You both should be working on your costume. Your costume is something that it outlies your personality. And this is the problem with Ncuti Gatwa having 100 billion different costumes. RTD may think that's cool, but it's not. Because it takes away, having that one costume, you know, gives you the identity for the Doctor. So I think it's very important. So, Russell T Davies has been making fun of fans for not liking change. There's some things, if they're not broke, don't fix them. One costume. The whole kind of bi-generation thing doesn't make any sense. I don't hate it, Russell. I don't hate it. I don't hate change. But it doesn't make any change. It doesn't make any sense, should I say. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, what's the point of it? You said it was going to create this multiverse. Well, where is it? You're talking nonsense. You're saying that every single Doctor is now alive because of the bi-generation. How? How? Doesn't even make sense. It's a stupid idea. It's not even exciting. The regeneration, the way it is brilliant. It works, it's exciting. I mean, I've looked forward to the regeneration episodes for many, many years. And they're great because you tell a great deep story about the final act of that person playing the Doctor, that version of the Doctor. They go on that final journey as Capaldi did, as Tennant did, as Smith did, and it works, right? Even Jodie Whittaker got a great final episode, even though her final episode was basically had more master than Jodie Whittaker. That was strange. I wonder if she was pregnant at the time. I can't remember. But anyway, her final episode, The Power of the Doctor, is probably my favourite of her incarnation. It was really, really good. So that is one of my ideas where you could take Doctor Who onto the big screen. We know from the documentary, The Big Hitch, that, or The Longest Hitch, or whatever it was called, it is very challenging to take Doctor Who onto the big screen, because as I say, the BBC ain't Disney, they ain't Warner Brothers. They can't make a film to go to cinema. They would need financing. I think should even Doctor Who be owned by the BBC anymore? Is it time for someone who loves Doctor Who to buy it and finance it and put people in charge of it that care to make it great again? What RTD and Moffat and Chibnall did was make Doctor Who mainstream, especially Russell T Davies, to a mainstream general younger audience. It needed to be that. It still needs to be that to a point. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't try and appeal to your hardcore audience, the older fans as well. There's a place for everyone. That hasn't been the case recently, or let's just put it this way, they'd rather the older fans go away. But you do need the older fans to make up the numbers as well, the ratings. If you make great Doctor Who, people will come in. Is Doctor Who in cinema viable? Could it make money? Yes. If you tell refreshing news stories, absolutely. If you go back to making it fun and funny and adventurous and random police box travel, there's no question about it. People would sit in the cinema to watch Doctor Who. Because the finale, the double finale, went to cinemas, and actually, I don't think they did that badly. So imagine if it's a movie, right? And it's not going to be on TV. It's not going to be on streaming, right? Not for years, right? People would go if it's a great movie. And having a big star each film playing the Doctor would be highly interesting. And get a celebrity writer director, or bring someone in who continues each film after the other. It could be very, very interesting. There's so many different things you could do with Doctor Who on film. It would certainly have to be something, if I was in charge, that you'd have to think about very deeply. You couldn't just jump in there and do it. I understand the risks of taking Doctor Who from the small screen to the big screen. Whatever you do with Doctor Who, it has to be Doctor Who. It has to be Doctor Who. Too many things. Russell T Davies has gone mad since he's come back. The Davros thing, red pilling Donna's tragic, beautiful ending. And the thing with the Sonic, where he decided to make it a square big thing, because apparently it's, kids may poke each other with the sonic screwdriver that actually looks like a sonic screwdriver. It's insane. It's political correctness gone mad. People are not, that shaped Sonic have been toys for years, and no one has poked anyone's eye out as far as they know. So it's ridiculous. You ruined the sonic screwdriver like you ruined everything else through your insanity and craziness. So we don't want any of these people involved in Doctor Who. We want people involved with a defined vision. Something exciting, something funny. Do you remember when Doctor Who used to be funny? Doctor Who hasn't been funny for a long time. It wasn't funny under the Chibnall era. He took himself far too seriously. And surprisingly, considering RTD1 was pretty funny at times, RTD2 isn't funny at all. Not that they haven't tried to be funny. So you need a fresh mind. You need fresh ideas. It needs to be exciting. And there's the other idea, which I've explained before, about the Doctor travelling with a mother and a daughter, and either the daughter or the mother is dying, and the Doctor makes an impossible promise to travel the stratosphere, to travel space and time to find a cure for either the daughter or the mother. I think the mother would have cancer, and I know what I'd do with it, and this would really be an arc for the little girl, for the daughter. The Doctor travelling with a child would be very, very interesting. And, and I've spoken about it. And some of you may have heard my idea about this. And ultimately, the girl, conspires with the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Master. And the Doctor gets, locked away in the Genesis arc for a closed season. So in the season premiere, we come back, he's got a beard, he's gone insane, right? Because of what's been done with him. So that's my kind of idea, what I would do. But there are lots of different things you can do with Doctor Who. You, in fact, don't have to have a companion. You could take the risk and get rid of the companion and just have the Doctor make friends with people wherever he goes and share the adventure with them. A bit like the Waters of Mars. The Waters of Mars doesn't use a continuing companion. It uses Dr. Adelaide Brooke as the companion. She works, brilliant actress, RTD, writes her brilliantly. She works. She's gone by the end of the episode. No harm, no foul. It can work. Because I feel the attractive young female companion has been done and done and done to death. Not by the Doctor, of course, but you know what I mean. It doesn't work. I mean, we look at Millie Gibson's character, Ruby Sunday, and it's boring. It's the same old thing. Oh, Doctor, oh, Doctor, I think I'm having an orgasm, Doctor. It's bigger on the inside, I think this has to stop. We need a different type of companion. If we're going to keep with the companions, it can't be a young, attractive, young woman. I think that Chibnall's female companion in terms of Yaz, definitely, at the time I wasn't that interested in Yaz and I found her bland. But Yaz, looking back at her now, is more interesting than Ruby Sunday, and she doesn't have a mystery box. She's got a crush on the Doctor, but it works, and she had an interesting personality. But ultimately, when it comes to the companion, you've really got to freshen it up. The young, attractive companion simply doesn't work. Do we have to, it was disappointing to find out that Ruby Sunday wasn't from the past, that she's another modern day contemporary companion, because RTD and his cohorts believe that's the only way they can be relatable, and that's nonsense. You go to the past, you go to the 1800s, the 1920s, and pluck a companion out of there. And she doesn't have to be female either. You can create a very interesting dynamic. She can be an alien. She can be an android. Your companion can be anything your imagination takes you to. But the same old companion that we've had since 2005 has been done and done to death. Even like the classic companions didn't stick with the young, pretty girl. They had different companions, different types. Aliens, we even had a kind of android, didn't we? We had Chameleon, if you remember, which was pretty cool. We had Adric, we had different companions in classic Who. But Doctor Who, the revival, is obsessed with the young, attractive companion because she's supposed to lure the audience in. And I think it's been done. It's now boring and we need to move on from it. And so you need to really refresh the companion thing because right now it's not working. Maybe the revival companion actually hasn't worked for a long time and hasn't worked for longer than people care to remember. And I think Clara's probably the last great Doctor Who companion, although Bill was pretty good as well. But she wasn't as good as Jenna Coleman was. She was really, really good. Clara Oswald was very, very good. She had the mystery box arc, but the stuff with Capaldi, the stuff that Capaldi came up with for Clara Oswald was genius, especially in season 8 when the Doctor and Clara have this power struggle and she's not coping with the regeneration very, very well. Excellent. It may be one of the best companion Doctor story arcs we have ever seen. It's that genius. And in the end, she realizes she's dealing with the same man. She thinks she's fighting a different man. And that's the point. And that's the struggle every Doctor Who fan has after a regeneration. And that's what Moffat was trying to say. It's okay to feel that way, but it is the same person after all. So brilliant. So you do need to rework the companion. And this is why I've been thinking about a little girl, because it's something hasn't been done before. And if her mother is dying and the doctor makes an impossible promise that he can't keep, and if her mother does die, then the little girl will grow to be very resentful and bitter towards the doctor, and it gives you interesting, great drama. There's lots of different things you can do. You can have a nerd travelling with the doctor, who could be a guy, and he starts to believe in the doctor. He wants escapism. He's got a lonely life. Again, very, very interesting. And they don't have to have a mystery box. I think also this thing about the companion having a deep story behind them has to stop. What's interesting is, even though Rose became Bad Wolf, during the first series, there was no hint that she was going to be Bad Wolf. She was just an ordinary Earth girl from an estate, the Powell estate, and she was very, very relatable, especially in the first season. In the second season, when she just looked like she wanted to rip Tennant's clothes off and pin him up against the TARDIS console, she wasn't as relatable. The whole romance thing is still beyond me. But anyway, I think a change is needed there, and it's needed quickly. But they're not going to give you a change because they're bringing another young, attractive female to Doctor Who to play the companion. So they're stubborn. They're not going to change their ways because they've become too set in their ways on what they believe Doctor Who should be. In 2005, with, Russell T Davies, and then in 2011 or whatever it was with Moffat, it seemed fresh, groundbreaking. But the way RTD wants to tell Doctor Who stories now isn't fresh, isn't groundbreaking. It's old hat, boring and dry. And people, if they're honest with themselves, are getting bored of it. And you need to create change. Not change for change's sake, but something creative, something interesting, something groundbreaking, something compelling. There's lots of things you can do with Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a story about an alien who has this amazing time spaceship that can go anywhere in time and space. And there's another thing we need to look to do with Doctor Who. I mean, RTD2 barely went to other planets or other times. Barely. I'm not saying not at all. It wasn't good enough as far as I'm concerned. And just because you're going to the past, it doesn't mean you have to underline the problems of those past. You can actually celebrate these different eras and decades. It doesn't always have to be about bigotry, racism, sexism all the time. It can actually say, let's celebrate the people in the 60s, right? Let's celebrate the 1800s, right? Let's celebrate them. They were their own people. They were very inventive, but they, of course, weren't perfect. But guess what? Neither are we. We're no better than those times. So celebrate the past. Be accurate about the people in the past and create interesting and exciting stories like Mark Gatiss's The Unquiet Dead, which absolutely catalogues its kind of old history characters very, very interesting. Interestingly, I mean, I love the perception of Charles Dickens and how depressed he is and how fed up he is and how uninspired he is. But after he meets the Doctor, he gets inspired. That is one of the best uses of a famous historical figure meeting the Doctor. And it really, really did work. But you've got these. We've got all of these things. We've got the TARDIS. You can go anywhere. Just because you can go anywhere doesn't mean you should go anywhere. Just because you can do anything doesn't mean you should do anything. But you can be very, very inventive. Find new ways to use the Daleks, the Cybermen, and the Master, and all these different characters. Be inventive. Create new ones like the Slovene, like the Ood, and characters like that, and the Silence. probably the best new original Alien ever created. No surprise, it was Moffat that invented it. So you can use the old monsters, but you can create new ones as well. You could create a Doctor Who horror movie. Doctor Who used to be scary. So one of the movies could be a Doctor Who horror movie, R-rated. You could have one normal Doctor Who movie a year, then you could have a horror movie, R-rated one as well, which would also be very interesting. So you could this is what I'm talking about, taking it to cinema. And I know a lot of you will be going, we don't want it to go to cinema. I just feel it's worth the risk. I do feel, if done properly, Doctor Who on film would be very, very interesting and very, very exciting. But you need ambitious people, not the people in charge of it now. It is clear they're out of ideas. The well has run dry. New people, a new person, whoever needs to be running this show. And if it's on the big screen, so be it. I'm not going to be one of those Doctor Who fans who wants to live in the past. I think epic Doctor Who movies on film, in cinema, could be a very, very interesting creative conceit, and I'm not going to dismiss that potential. The truth of the matter is, Disney may not even take the third season option. Who knows what happens to Doctor Who then? I think they would struggle to find another injection of money. So if Disney don't take up that third season, Doctor Who's going to be rested. That's it. If Disney don't continue to be involved. Who knows what Disney are thinking at this point? I don't think they're even going to get their investment back in Doctor Who. That's the serious question. It has to be financially viable for Disney because it isn't a charity. But the insistence from RTD and Disney to make RTD2 what it was created a bad situation for them. No one's to blame. No one else, not the fans, not the customer, not the viewers. It's them. They made many, many mistakes. You don't have a companion who suddenly can create snow by standing there at any second and say, oh well, she's a normal companion. No ideas. It was just ridiculous. So new people need to come in. I'd like it to be me, but it's never going to happen. So you need new ideas, you need passionate people who love Doctor Who, and I think that is very, very important with where we are at with Doctor Who. It will be rested for a very long time. I'm 51 years old, so if it was to be rested or cancelled now, I may never see it on the big screen. Now, I've got plenty of Doctor Who to enjoy, you know, from the revival, from the classic era, so I'll be all right. It would be very sad for Doctor Who to end this way when there's so many brilliant, magical, epic ways to make great Doctor Who. I think if you're making crap Doctor Who, you have to take a long, hard, deep look at yourself, because it's harder to fuck it up than it is to get it right. And I think there is so much potential in Doctor Who going forward, but this ain't it. RTD2 isn't it. The Chibnall era, although a stark improvement on RTD2, isn't it either. There's some very good Doctor Who in the Capaldi era. There's some very slow pacing Doctor Who. And as well, I think that was the big problem for some of the Capaldi era. It was slow paced. And also, how fit was Capaldi? Could he run like the other Doctors? I simply don't know. But I did enjoy Capaldi. I thought Capaldi was great at the end of the day. And look, as I've said many times, a lot of people are calling him the last Doctor they saw, and I can understand why they're saying that. We are looking now at Hollywood changing their ways, firing the activists. But the problem is, activists have always lived at the BBC, and activists now live at Disney. So if Disney continue to be involved with Doctor Who, no visionary is going to be allowed to come in and change Doctor Who. It's about ambition. Do you want to make money? Do you want to entertain your audience, or do you want to keep on gaslighting everyone? It is now up to you. But I think RTD and his friends are done here, and it's time for him to move on. There's no question about that.